Ibiok wrote to Mwago Christian, which he sent to me, forwarded to me. I'm sure maybe that is the product of the lack of what of communication means or so. So Ibiok says, please be informed that new friends in Nigeria are embarking on registering the wonderful worldwide educators as an outfit of the New Presentation Foundation, USA, with the Corporate Affairs Commission, CAC. This became necessary due to the current situation in the country, where so many states have enacted some edicts aimed at controlling and eradicating unregistered groups and or associations deemed to be engaging in activities inimical to peaceful coexistence in the society. Meanwhile, after careful consultation with some solicitors, we have been advised to register WWE under NGOs and foundation groups. The cost of handling this registration project has been put at 320,000 naira. 320,000 naira. However, after various comparisons to other offers and confirmations from the website of CAC, we have finally agreed on the above quoted costs as given to us by the adopted solicitor. Consequently, we are putting out this notice to all those who may wish to share in this wonderful opportunity to participate in this new activity by freely and happily contributing to the success of this registration project. In the meantime, we are pleased to announce that some donations have already been paid in by concerned new friends, although we still have a long way to go. In this regard, the wonderful worldwide educators in Nigeria count so much on your usual cooperation to move the new activities to greater heights. So that is what Ibiok wrote. I think I got the amount wrong. It's 320,000 naira. Let me convert that into dollars and see how much it gives. That's 882.76 USD. $882.76. Yeah, to get the registration done in Nigeria.
Charles, what will this accomplish by doing this? Yeah, it's just many times paying for an idea, if they have it, but I would look for other ways. That's a lot for the Nigerians, isn't it, to spend on an idea? Yeah, unless they have it, but then you have to struggle. Then you have to do something to struggle with other things. So I would just keep it simple and make sense of it. Is it in Nigeria or parts of Africa to where you have a group or something that you have to be recognized or you can't have meetings? Is that the idea?
That is it.
Yeah. Okay. Is there another way? I mean, there's always another way, okay, to do it.
Yeah, this I would know from them.
Yeah.
But the crackdown on groups that have illegal meetings, illegal in the sense that the groups have not been permitted to operate, to function. It's very brutal.
Well, I get it, but see, really, we're all one person at a time, and possibly, just as an example, as a worldwide educator, we'll just use that idea. Okay, we have associations with these people that are like doing the green belt in Africa, and what they could do is, let's say, join a group like that and have their meetings with them as an example. Okay, so you've already got formed groups like that, like Felix is doing in Germany and all over the world, and we're really focused on the trees. So that would make more sense. You see, it's just like us at the college. At first, I paid in 2013, I paid about $2,600 to have the concert done. Well, I didn't know about the clubs on campus, and as you become part of one of the clubs on campus, you get the auditorium free. You see, there's always another way. So I would say look at organizations that we're focused on now, which is the trees, and that become part of them. They've already paid for this registration, and that just become part of them, and have your group meetings there, because the basic idea is you're just sharing what we're doing, and try that, you see?
Yeah, Duane, I think that makes sense, especially when the means are limited. But this kind of surrogacy is would be temporary, because we would like to see the new presentation actually function as an entity by itself.
Well, again, that's an idea. That's an idea that you have. Take it moment by moment and see what happens. So when you hold that idea out in front of you, then you don't see all the possibilities. It's kind of like the frog going across the pond, and there's a bunch of lily pads. Well, the frog is thinking, well, I want to be to the other side of the pond, but at the same time, he's got to hop from lily pad to lily pad to get there, right? Or he can hop around the pond, but the pond's really big, so it's shorter to hop from lily pad to lily pad. So again, it's one step at a time and see where it goes. It's just like me with the vessel project. Yeah, I'd like to get it done, but at the same time, realistically, I have to go a step at a time, you see? So you have that idea, just like you got your degree in college and whatever, but you had to take it a day at a time. You know, you could have printed out your degree, right? But that may not have worked. So you had to take it a day at a time. And so the same with this. It's not so much about what we want. It's about what makes sense for the moment and see where that leads. Now, as you know, just like Val has investigated these things and now we're focused on the trees, well, one thing leads to another. And from that, I see the bigger possibilities. All right. But we need agreement, etc. But it's a step at a time. So you just have to be realistic. And again, look at how many lifetimes it's taken you to just get to this point, to just have this little bit of awareness right now. It's huge. So it's a lot of steps. That's more realistic.
Yeah, you're doing it. It makes sense. It makes sense. Maybe we'll take that. We'll pursue that option. Maybe they look for some clubs, popular clubs in some universities or in Nigeria, some foundations that are pursuing some activities that benefit society as a whole, you know, and that are mostly educational in nature. Because this thing they were saying, they had to register it. The only way was to go through to put it under religions. I just wrote back. I said no. We're not a religion, and it shouldn't go under any religious nonsense just to get it registered. So I kicked against that. I'm sure Christian took note of it, and I've then read what the original that Ibiok sent, because Christians was a sort of modification, was like looking for a shortcut to the problem. But I think what you've said, we go piecemeal, we can't raise the funds. It's no use to be to go at some kind of breakneck speed. Partner with some bodies that are doing some beneficial work there, and that are running some courses for the benefit of society, and then through them you present what you got, and may even find that those clubs were very interested in what you're doing, and it will be an easy way to present it, to make the new presentation known.
You have the idea, okay, and we've went through a lot here with Val in the college, which is good, okay. So, and we're still going through more. So the idea too is that when you look at this, let's say you did get this thing, you paid $900 for it or whatever, okay. Now you're under their restrictions. You see that? Where before you weren't. So you got to look at the two. Is it worth it? You know, when I created the new presentation, I created it as a nonprofit. I went through the steps. It wasn't that hard, fortunately. It wasn't that much money, really. You can create a nonprofit over here. You can start the process for like $50, $60. I did it myself. And then you just you pay the money, which I did. This is one of the things I did when I went to and took classes and got grants, like Val is doing now, to pay for the first concert, 2013, and also part of that money was $400 to pay the registration fee for the nonprofit, to get a nonprofit. It took about 2 years because it's under education. Yes, I didn't want religion. I asked a friend of mine who had done the same thing. I said, how long did it take you to get this, verified? He said 3 months. That's because his was religion. But I had talked to the IRS several times, and they said it's still workable. It's just everybody wanted the letter of determination. You know, it's all this government stuff. Okay, I don't really care for the whole idea. I just established this. I'm looking for the bigger picture where I don't need this 501c3 idea anymore, but I did it, and I also had to register with the state of California. And that was basically free. That wasn't so. Realistically, total about $500. Now, I also did my name according to some instruments I have. I also made that a nonprofit, but I did that online. It was less. But again, I wouldn't advise anybody to do this unless they're really going to move forward with certain things. But what I see now is just like us at the college. Now, Val is investigating this one because we've already went through OCC. And again, the people that are very unaware of, the world that they're on, basically, they're not interested in what we're presenting, so they pushed us out, you might say. And so, but we learned from that and learned to maneuver better. So in this next situation, we're going to see, okay, do we join a club or do we create a club? And last time we created a club is what we did. And it worked for a while, but then situations came around to where it didn't exist. Okay, fine. It didn't cost us anything to create the club. But the advantage was it was going to give us, all of a sudden we found out that it was going to give us the auditorium at the college for free. And we could, make a benefit. And so what we decided to do, too, is we were questioned. It's like, okay, where's this money going to go? Well, then I said, okay, we'll just split it all up between everybody and all the other clubs. Okay, so we were making a generous offer. That still didn't do it. We didn't get very far with that. That just kind of fizzled out. And so we're in this next position here. It's kind of a bigger step. But again, what I see in Africa, and it makes sense, and if you have the colleges or universities or whatever you have there, I don't know the situation and how it is, but King is a good one to relate to. He goes to the universities and that. And if there are, scholarships or funding to go there, that's an idea to go through the colleges, etc. And just to sign up for the colleges, because there you can have, as students, you can have meetings, you can set up a club, see, and to where you have the club and the university as a reference to where you don't have to buy this idea from the government and be ruled by their regulations, you see. As soon as you sign up, it's just like me, the new presentation. I got to deal with their little regulations, which is no big deal because I stay kind of low-key and under the radar, so I'm not going out there and doing all kinds of funny things. But I just established that just to establish the idea of it. But realistically, I don't need it at all. But I had the funds to do it, so I did it. So we've got it. Now you might say it's self-sufficient. I don't have to pay for it anymore. All I have to do every year, because it's been paid for, is I just do a little e-postcard online, which takes me 5 minutes to fill out my name and address, who's president. That's it. Okay. Now, I don't know what it is in Nigeria, but again, anytime you do these things, you have to deal with their restrictions and their regulations. So I would say either look at other organizations or the college itself, etc. You have a lot of options there. Instead of just renting a meeting hall and paying for it. I've done that before in the past when I was in the corporation, and it was just a lot of money going nowhere. So, what we're doing individually makes more sense, and just, again, make sense of it. So there are options there. You just got to hunt them down, Charles. Go ahead.
Yeah, what you've said, Duane, is understood. But, Africa is its own place. It's one kind of a place where things are rigid, monolithic, and all the like. And all the opportunities you're citing there in the colleges and universities there, you need to go there to see how people react. They will not admit anything into their program, into their environment, which is foreign. It's not part of them. They say, no, go and do your things elsewhere. Or if they'll first ask you, what is this? Do you have any permission to propagate this educational program or whatever? You see. So, in as much as we appreciate what you've said, and I'm going to tell them to look for other options, but would like to actually make the new presentation, the new foundation there, stand on its own feet. Yeah, if it's license to operate in Africa is not the same thing. Once you've had that license, you can do and undo. That is it. You can do and undo. Once you have it, they will not be resigned it. Not take it. They will not give it today and take it back tomorrow. And so we have a lot of latitude to function. And this going through others, sort of literally begging them and to operate under them, would be avoided, and people may even become skeptical if if what you're presenting is really legit, use those kind of words, then why is it that you've not been approved? Why? And then people will say, oh, they'll just shy away from saying, no. I would not like to meddle in something that I can't vouch for, you see. So looking for these opportunities, go through organizations, through some societies, join those clubs, but the ultimate best option is to be independent, to have your own authority, have it, and then you don't do anything, but you have it. That is it. And especially in a country like Nigeria, where the cooperation is strong and people think that it is all and all. In fact, I think we're going to do everything possible to make sure that the new presentation stands on its feet. Yeah.
Charles, let me ask you. Does the government recognize the different tribes, African tribes, in the various countries in Africa? Do the governments recognize them? What is one of the tribes, African tribes, the primitive tribes, or whatever you want to call them, the natural tribes? Give me a name of one in Nigeria.
You have the Yorubas, you have the Igbos, you have the Efiks, you have the Hausas, the Fulanis, and all those are.
Okay.
They are not primitive tribes, but they are tribes that have existed from time immemorial, and those groupings.
That's what I mean. That's just an idea. So they just call them natural tribes. Okay, so let me ask you: are you aware of this? Are they registered with the government?
They are not registered, but that is not the logic there when it comes to this kind of thing.
Well,
yeah, we call them they are natural, yes.
Charles,
ethnic groupings.
Charles.
Yeah, they're ethnic groupings and politics and economics and many other things run along those lines. You see?
Okay.
Oh, maybe this person is from this side. This one is from. Let's have a regional balance because everyone cannot come from this particular tribe. It would be like suppressing the other tribes or ethnic groupings and all the like. So you see, it's these kinds of ethnocentric politics plays on everything.
Okay, Charles, hold on, please. Hold your horses. You might say you're running past the idea. Okay?
Yeah.
First of all, as long as we're discussing this, what we're doing here in the college is we're not bringing in some giant idea. Okay? What we're doing is just Val, one person with his name, that's it. He signed up for the college. Okay? He doesn't have the worldwide educator stamp on him. He's just signing up as one person, kind of like a scout with the military. All right. So he's just scouting it out. That's it. And so what I asked is that without all that explanation that has nothing to do with what I asked, is that I asked, are they regulated by the government, the tribes? And you said, is it just a yes or no? They're not regulated?
They're not regulated.
Okay, that's it. All right, see? They're not regulated. But they're still recognized, aren't they?
You wouldn't. I think your question is, in fact, it cannot fit into this context because these ethnicities are part of the way of life. They're just accepted as they are. and recognized.
That's Charles. That's what
Yeah.
I asked. You're running past. Hold your horses.
Mhm.
I simply asked, are they recognized? In other words, when they walk down the street, if there's 2 or 3 of them, and there are government officials there, do they run up to them and say, hey, do you have a permit to get to be together? Do they do that in Africa or not? Well, do they?
Yeah, they ask for the permit.
They do. They ask if
Yes.
there's 2 or 3 of them walking down the street, they ask them if they have a permit to walk together.
Certainly not.
Certainly not. Okay,
Yeah.
what about 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 of them walking down the street? Did they ask for a permit?
No.
Okay, does that give you
Free association.
does that give you a hint of something aside from all your literal description of things? Okay, see again, what you're doing is that, you know, it's like this. It's like what the U.S. government created here. You know, we're in a world that's been literalized. And okay, so, you know, the government's created certain ideas and certain people have figured out what it is. So confronting the government with what it already knows and what they're doing, does that make sense? There's always another way, you see. So again, if it were me and I were there, because I like the risk-taker position, what you're trying to do with your explanations is, in a way, you're trying to keep it safe all the time. It's like, okay, we got to do this, we got to do that. Well, you know, life isn't really like that. But again, you decide to take the risk. Well, you know what? I would investigate myself. I would investigate becoming part of the tribe. You see, a step at a time, and to see where it goes. Because again, they're utilizing what we're presenting here is the natural environment. It's not about we wonderful world-wide educators. That's an idea. But the reality of what we're presenting is about the natural environment. Things being natural and the best they can for everybody. That's really the whole idea of the worldwide educators. So myself, I would take on the adventure of investigating, hey, what would it take to be part of the tribe? Because, hey, they're recognized, but they're not regulated. And they're having meetings. Are their meetings regulated or rated? You see? Again, there are variables there. There's always something else. But you got to decide to take the risk and be creative to see how it comes out a step at a time. You know? Again, just like the military would send out scouts. Hey, they didn't know what was out there, so they sent the scout out there, and the scout came back and reported, said, oh, I saw this, I saw that, or whatever. But as they moved along, they constantly sent out the scout to see what else is out there, because they're bringing the rest along. So again, the scout is one person usually. And that's kind of like Val here. He's the scout for the college. And then we converse here and talk about, okay, well, let's do this or let's try this, etc. So again, I'm just, I'm looking at for options, but if you keep deciding that, no, we can't do that, no, we can't do that, no, we can't do that, well, again, you've already decided, no, you can't do that. So what you're saying is there's no other way except to sign up with the government. Well, I would say that's not so. You just have to find it and learn to pay attention to your intuition and learn to take the risk. Okay, here's the idea of life. And that is that if you just keep doing this, thinking the same way, and keep doing the same routines all the time, and never take the risk aside from what has already been established by the rule lovers, then that's all you'll have. You will just stay in this one-dimensional consciousness. This is where you see the corporation and all these things in the world, they think that they're on some great spiritual plateau. That's in their mind, okay? They cling to ideas, not the reality of taking the risk to become more aware. There's a difference, a big difference. And this is what the new presentation is about. It's about recognition. It's not about just promoting more ideas. So in this situation here, I would look at that, and just like, Val discovered Felix over in Germany, a 9-year-old kid that started all this stuff and the tree movements, and he worked off this lady that won the Nobel Prize in '04, this African lady, I forget her name, but it doesn't matter, but they want to do a green belt clean across Africa, and that's through the Congo too, and probably Cameroon or whatever, but we're hooking up with them, etc. So yes, we're doing our thing, but at the same time, we're hooking up with them because it's about the natural environment, and that's the idea. It's not about going in there with T-shirts on that say, we're worldwide educators and we want to be a part of this. No, you go in there like the scout as an individual, as Bob or Bill or, Charles, and then you see what's going on, and then you have fun creatively putting this adventure together instead of pre-thinking it and Xing yourself out. Life will show you.
Well, they'll try that option and see what comes out of it. There's no problem. So they have to become more proactive, expand their contacts and all the like.
It's a block of clay, and we have huge restrictions here. Hey, do you ever see the cop beatings on Facebook? This is where we're at here. I know how the society is. It's not what you think. Oh yeah, it looks like everybody's having a great time. But you know what? They're subliminally controlled here more than they are in Africa. That's the biggie. It's not even the enforcement here. It's the subliminal control, Charles. It's huge. And so we're coming in with 5G, which is just basically going to fry everybody. And that's very real. It's no joke. So again, there is no difference amongst all this. This is human farming. That's it, the entire planet. And it's just that each individual is going to have to figure it out. King, I'm not saying that King is the cure. King has his experiences. He's went out there and done certain things. He's taken the risk. Each person doing that. In other words, it's not just going to the groups, okay? It's more than that. It's deciding to do something. This breaks your routine. That's the idea of, stepping forward with something, getting out of your routine, because as you stay in your routine, you just grow old with your routine, just like you did in previous lifetimes, and it becomes no different. I've seen individuals that I've worked with the top individuals in the world here with the ancient Chinese family. And I saw this individual and I knew him for years. And guess what? He went to the real side. He thought he was going on the 7th level. No, he went in the twilight zone. Because he didn't pay attention. You got to take the risk. You got to get out of that mind frame. You have to take the risk, be creative, make sense of things, get real. All of these things, and it's not according to the rules. It's not about breaking the rules. It's about making sense of something. Yes, and so again, yes, we're all restricted. The same, Charles. There is no difference. Otherwise, that's discrimination. You're discriminating between us and them. And I remember that when Ava was with Daniel, the Canadian, and when he went to Africa, you know what the Africans told him as a higher initiate? He went there with the corporation. They said, we don't want to hear your words. We just want to be white and we want to be rich like you. Well, I see the Africans. Why do you think I'm going to eventually go to Africa? I see them having the advantage, not us here. There's no advantage here. There's more restrictions. What they see is the appearance of things. I see the advantage of being there. Yes, there's a difference. It's because you're standing in it and you're not seeing it objectively. Now you're outside of the country, you're looking at the physical situations. I see them as a huge challenge to become more aware. That's what I see. Life is about awareness. It's not about the things that we do. It's not about the new presentation or whatever. If that comes about, fine. But it's us as individuals, at least relating to each other, sharing, and becoming more aware. That's the whole picture. It's not going back and creating an institution like the corporation. That's not the idea here. That's why I'm all over the place. because again, that had its time. We were babysat at that time in the little room like kindergarten, but that's no more. You know, life is a lot bigger. It's outside the box now. And so people have to figure it out, or they don't, or they stay inside their box. And most people are just only interested in their routines and their next thrill and what they can get and about their personal life. The reality of the isness and what the real guides are trying to share is that who will step up and recognize the next person to support them realistically in their real awareness, standing real with the is. Who will do that? And you know, I try to communicate to many people, but they've got their little personal things to do. It's like, okay, this is the whole idea. And many people have come and gone. And they're out there, they're relating to the source and all these things like that. Well, the guys aren't recognizing that. Life doesn't recognize that. You know why? Yeah, they can have their freedom. They can do whatever they want. But they have decided not to support those that are supporting the is. They want to create their own idea of life. That becomes the difference. And they can. They have the right to do it. But through this process, Charles, the reality is it's awareness. And yes, we have the things here that are obstacles, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you got a stop sign over there on the road and we got a stop sign here on the road. It's the same stop sign, but you can walk around the stop sign. You don't have to just hold on to the stop sign and stay there forever. So what we've been through is a reference. We don't have to keep dragging it around like a dead body as a reality. And these things that have been created here, they're references, and most of them are dead. So we can bring something to life, but we got to be a little tricky. We got to be a little creative and crafty and clever, you see? And yeah, we're going to be beat up and get the abuse of it. Sometimes I wake up, I got scars on my arm. So does Claudia and whatever, because of what we're doing galactically. We're taking on a much bigger picture. And the reason I don't share all of this is because most people won't get it. They're just going to think like, oh, it's some kind of sci-fi movie. Well, you're already in the sci-fi movie. You're already in the Twilight Zone. Wake up. Because there ain't no La La Land here. The idea is that, are you ready to stand real and support those that support the all is? Or do you want to just go off on your own little tangent? So in the meantime, yes, make sense of it. Have the adventure. Meet others, etc. I'd look at the tribes just for the fun of it. See what comes of that. I'm not saying that's the answer. No, the answer is with each individual and how they decide. But you notice the real guides, they stand real together with the is. That's what they do. They don't go off and, you know, some of them go off and start their own ideas. You know, they're standing real. They're standing real with me because I'm focused on the is. You know, because this is where it is on the earth. Nobody else is doing this. So yeah, it's a big adventure. It's a lot bigger than your head. You see, what you contain in your head. What you see is one thing. What you know is one thing. But what you don't see and don't know is a lot more. I always look for that. What else is there? You see, besides restrictions and agreeing and complying. And it's not that you fight the system because you know the rules and regulations. That's not it. What does that have to do with the is? All of a sudden you want to be right, you know? There's people over here that don't want to pay taxes, so they fill out forms saying, well, I'm this and I don't want to pay taxes. Fine. And then they want to spread it to all their friends. Fine. I would say do it for yourself and then see who shows up and asks you. But other than that, we're focused on this because we only have so much time. And so I would say just do it a step at a time, and that's all you can do. We're very restricted here too. Very, very restricted. We went through a barrage of nonsense that was huge from the college. Yeah. Yeah, and we dealt with it, and it's okay. We're going to the next step. And so it's not easy for us over here, Charles, either. We really get it here, okay? You'd think that, oh, people are awake and aware and are acceptable. No, they're not. They don't want to hear anything about it. And even the ecology teacher there at OCC, she had no idea. She goes, what is your event about? And our event was called Your Children, Your All Natural Environment. And even the deans, some of the deans of the college over there asked Val, what is this event about? It's like, duh, 5 words. Which one don't you understand? This is what we deal with, Charles. Yeah. You're lucky you have the primitive tribes there. You know, the American Indians here are so suppressed, they're just looked at as casino owners and drunks. Nobody cares about them. But you still have to where the government there at least recognizes that. No, you have a lot there. Africa has a lot. Why do you think the boys are pointing us to Africa? They don't want me to stay in the United States. This place is getting worse. But those that want to stay here and chase their la la land, have fun. Because I'm setting up other things. It's going to take a while. But again, it's about agreement. But no, there's no difference, Charles. Once you get rid of all those ideas and just take the risk, look for the adventure, make sense of what to do, not just go spend money, you see, that you don't have, that you got to struggle for, and now you got to be concerned about, okay, now how do we do this and that? You don't want concerns, you want the adventure. Make sense of it, and hey, life will show you.